And Keith. Uh, Keith is 58, and he's the eldest son of my Uncle Charles, who you've already seen. And my memories of Keith are when we were about, I guess, 5 or 6, and I've said it on this tape. Keith's mum and dad took my mother and our family into their home. We didn't have any place to go, and I remember we stayed there for a little while. I'm not really sure how long it was. And that's when I last saw Keith, and I would guess that's probably about 55 or 56 years ago, I would guess, Keith. Anyway, I'm delighted to show you him and introduce you to him, and I was just asking Keith to maybe just talk about his... And so Keith, I know you've told me you're married, Colleen, and you've got a son and a daughter, and you've got 3 grandkids. And so, to the extent that I'm not being intrusive, I'm just so interested to know about your life as a young guy and how you grew up. And you were just telling me a minute ago that you were a bit of a militant guy because you grew up as a coloured.
Yeah.
Right. So, would you kind of give my family in Canada some idea, my 2 daughters and the rest of my family, some idea of what your life has been like and what you do now?
Okay. I was telling you about the militancy, how I met these guys. I wanted to be a terrorist. And then I got involved in Marriage Encounter.
Right.
And the thing that struck me first when I got there is these whiteys used to kiss me.
The whiteys used to kiss you?
They used to hug and kiss me. And I mean, I first thought that they were insincere.
Right.
I used to say this was just a show, but I could see deep down they were sincere. And at this one meeting, the priest asked us, he said, what barriers prevent you from loving others? And I said, the political situation of this country. And one white guy got up, he started moving, and he said to the priest, can I do something? He worked on the mines. And he came and he hugged me. And it was like the whole white race came and, embraced me. And then they had to take me out of the room because I cried for, I think, 2 hours. Colleen, my wife, was very embarrassed. But since then I was healed. I believe God did that to me. Then he was also a racist, and there was a black Methodist priest who preached once at the church there. And he went and he laid down before this guy and he said, you've got to help me, I'm a racist and it's tearing me apart. And he got healed of his racism, so I had a tremendous experience in that. And I must say that going into the new area, it's been far better for me because I don't have the, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I find that that was what happened when I started to work, like they used to say. I remember the first job they got me, a Catholic director. They gave me tea out of a quart bottle because I couldn't drink out of the white cups. I used to use the toilet right in the factory where they used to smoke dacha, because you couldn't use the toilet in the office block. So all those things became much better to handle. I think hatred and division does more harm to you than to be loved and accepted, and to accept others.
Keith, what was it like as a young guy going out into a white world looking for a job, for example?
Now, at that time it was easy because, let's face it, the whites got first preference.
Okay.
And then Indians and colors. Blacks got the last preference.
Yeah.
So we were in. The only thing is, I know that when we worked, I used to earn 25 rand a week or something. And we never got paid the same. The most amazing thing in my present job, there's a white guy who works half day.
Right.
He opted to work half day, and he earns more than me, who work a full day. And I'm the manager of that company. But because of the injustice of the past, you see, Because he earned 10 times more than me in the past. You know, it's brought about that disparity in our salaries. It's amazing.
And Keith, insofar as your job's concerned, and general promotions and acceptance of skill level and that sort of stuff, what was it like being a second-class citizen in the workplace? Was there an assumption, for example, that because you were a coloured, you didn't have the same abilities as a white person? Did you find that at all?
No, I found that you did. They accepted that you had the abilities, but when it came to how can I say, giving you the responsibility of making you a manager, they wouldn't. They'd get a white guy who knew nothing, and they'd make him manager, and they'd put him in charge of us. And we always had a big problem with it, because they would never. Today I'm, say so with a lot of humility, I'm second in charge where I work, and I work with all the guys who work under me, the white guys. And we have a tremendous good relationship. Our management team is a black lady, a white lady, an Indian guy, and about 5 Afrikaans guys, and 1 Pomeranian, so we get on well.
With no animosity, Keith?
In the beginning, yes, but my boss is an Afrikaner who was exiled. He stayed in Zambia, so he knew a lot about the racial thing. And when he came to the company, he made it clear that if you're a racist, there's no place for you in the company. So I found on the management team, we had a verkramped, very conservative, I'd say, Afrikaans guy who's our production manager. And I'd like you to see the difference in him now that we've accepted him, we joke, it's unbelievable. He would go out of his way to help any of us. The change in his life is tremendous. So I don't think one just needs to look at it from one angle. There's a lot we can do by accepting others.
Right. Keith, what was it like getting married and having a young family, knowing at that stage that their life was destined to be that of second-class citizens? Did that ever occur to you, that type of thing?
No, the only thing that I remember, 2 things. When you used to go to the Rand Easter show, and we were so stupid, we used to go to the show. Our children couldn't take the rides. Right.
The Rand, just by explanation, I would just want to tell my family that the Rand Easter show is something like the CNE down at the waterfront, with all the rides and all the swings and all those sorts of things. And the Rand Easter show is a very similar type show, and Keith is talking about that. So what did you say?
If you had children, it was very difficult to explain to them that they couldn't take a ride, because, what could you do? They used to cry.
Yes.
Because they couldn't go, it was for whites only.
Yes.
And once Colleen and I went to the drive-in and with the children, and we were right there about to pay, and the lady said, "This place is not for you." And so it was so embarrassing, because all the cars behind us had to reverse.
So you went to a drive-in theatre for whites
only.
Whites only, and you were refused?
We couldn't go in with our car. This was the most ridiculous thing. We could park our car outside, and they had a place where coloureds could stand outside your car and watch the drive-in.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So those, the other terrible thing was housing. We couldn't get houses.
Because of the group areas,
and you could only get houses in certain areas, so there was a lot of exploitation. People would hire their back rooms, for 500 rand, and they were paying, their bond was maybe 200 rand, so They exploited many people. People could hire out their garage. The lady I stayed in their house, she hired the rooms to me, and the other family were using the garage. They lived in the garage. So housing was a tremendous problem. And it's put us back so much because, I mean, when I bought my first house with a swimming pool, that guy told me he paid 5,000 rand for it. And I had to buy it for 175,000.
Yes.
So, you know, it set us back, because if we had property at that time, we could then, you know, move up.
Do the normal thing and do the natural
Yes.
thing and enjoy the benefits
Yes.
of a white person, a young person
Yes.
buying a house, building equity and so forth. And so you started doing this when you were probably mid-30s or late 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are your kids now? You know, because the past 11 years the government has changed.
Yeah.
And so you've got kids and you've got grandkids. How do you think this has affected your kids?
Well, my kids, I don't think they didn't experience too much of apartheid as we did. Things were beginning to ease off much before 94.
Right.
So, I mean, the white Catholic schools opened, and they went to a Catholic school. It wasn't multiracial, but it was a colored school, and the education was very good.
Right.
Because that time the nuns used to teach. They were very qualified, and they used to get what I was on the school's committee, used to pay them 500 rand a month, you know, because the nuns used to do it voluntarily.
Right. Right.
So they had a good education. That was important. I'm a bit apprehensive about my grandchildren. My granddaughter goes to a German school, so she has to go to classes after school because nobody in the family can speak German, so nobody can help her with her homework in the school.
Okay. So she goes to a German school?
Yes.
Okay. Almost like an immersion school where she's learning German and English, or is it exclusively German?
Exclusively German.
Wow. And why would you have done that?
No, I didn't do that. My son did that because the Germans were experimenting on a new type of learning for children, and they invited, so my son got her in there at a cheaper rate because it was kind of an experimental thing, and it's also a good school. You must understand, here we have government schools where you have 40 children in a class, so you can't have a good education or good attention. So many of the families who can afford it send their children to Model C schools, which is private, and they allow only a certain amount of children per class.
And for those you pay?
You pay.
Okay. Okay. And what are your aspirations for your kids and for your grandkids? And in a very broad sense, the broader question is, how do you see your life in South Africa now that apartheid is abolished? You live ostensibly free, although I must just say that I've been quite taken aback that all homes have got burglar bars and grill gates and steel. And that's unfortunately your life and your life of your family in the broader sense.
In the future,
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things is that they realize that God is important in their lives. Because that's the main thing that's going to, person who will sustain them through this.
Right.
I'm worried about my grandchildren in a way that things may get better or it may get tougher. As it is, many people battle now to get work, because blacks get first preference.
Okay.
My children, they have fairly secure jobs, so they're okay. But my grandchildren, I think, may have a problem. It depends how the country turns out.
Mm.
So I've been to Australia, and I really don't intend going anywhere. I'd like to take the Kalahari Express and go to Namibia and ride through the desert and see the country, and take the blue train to Cape Town. And I travel quite extensively with my work, so I've been to many places in South Africa, but I prefer to stay around. I've been to Australia. I stayed there for 6 weeks and I saw nobody, and I'm only mixed with coloureds in Australia. So, I mean, all those who moved to Australia has just got a coloured community. There's no diversity at all.
So you would never think of leaving South Africa?
Never, no. I like South Africa with all its ups and downs and burglar bars and what is the best, I'm telling you. The people are friendly. I found in Australia people stick to themselves. And in the coloured community, because of our small houses, and we never had walls, we had a fence dividing us, so we were very much in each other's lives and very community orientated. And we struggled when apartheid was done away and you could move into any area. You never saw your neighbors. I mean, you know, even here we don't mix with the neighbors really. We might greet each other. Yeah. But when you were coloured, if I was making a barbecue or something, Pa said, come over, have a piece of meat and have a beer, and that's the way we live. And that we're losing in as we move into many of these so-called white areas. Yeah. We're losing that sense of community. Right. I know when I bought a house in the white area, I had to take my son every weekend to where we stayed, to the coloured area, so he could mix with his friends. Wow. And we had a swimming pool, we had everything in this new house. It didn't attract him. What attracted him was, and then I realized the importance of community and community life. And if we really had community life in our areas here, we wouldn't need these high walls. Because when I stayed in a coloured area, if somebody walked into your yard, your neighbor would tell you, you could see. Right. So South Africa is one challenge, I think, for the, and I do think that as my grandchildren will have there's still a lot of racism here. It's only done much better. Today, you go where you don't shop where the other guys shop. You go to the malls where most of the whites and the coloureds and the affluent Indians go when you shop, so you don't have to mix with. If you go to Southgate, I can take you to Southgate, and it's a shopping centre near Soweto. I mean, you'd have to queue to get in there, queue to park, because the people there know it's near Soweto, you see. So we have, I think, a lot of things to deal with. I think our grandchildren will deal with it much better than we as adults can.
Could you do me a favour?
Yeah.
Could you send a message? You haven't met him, but I've been forewarned that I dare not arrive back in Canada without lots of videos. And Keith, it's so nice of you to take the time and talk to me and share personal stuff with me. And perhaps would you like to just send a message? I've got an older daughter, Margaret. First of all, my wife's Jerry, whom you've never met. And then I've got a daughter, Margaret, and Feroz, her husband, and a granddaughter, Melissa. And then, of course, Jen and Aaron. You didn't meet them last year, but please God, that'll come to pass. Would you maybe just send them a message?
Yeah, what's your wife's name?
Jerry.
Jerry, I'd like to meet her. I really would like to meet her. I think it was a very sore point in the family that we never got to meet her. You say Manfred got married on the quiet and never told anybody, and we never seen you get married.
Right.
And when your daughter was here, I really was sad that I didn't meet her. Julia told me that she spent some time with her. I think only she was around for a day.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed. I really like to meet the family.
Yeah.
And spend time with them and chat to them, share our lives.
That's
I think
wonderful.
it's important as family that we even if you're far apart, you can still be involved in the lives of your family. 'Cause
Yes.
your family is God's gift to you.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I can't see where our lives will go from here, Keith, but I sure hope that somewhere along the line, you and your family and me and my family get to meet and get to know one another, and maybe it even involves a trip to Canada, and we would just love to have you in Canada if ever you get the time and the opportunity to come out. But thanks so much.
It's too cold. Well, you'll never get weather like this.
Yes.
I've got some friends who went to Canada and they tell me, oh, they're battling to adjust to the weather.
Yes.
And the kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy for the South African, you know. South African, there's one thing. If you don't make the upper bracket, you can live well in the lower bracket. You just adjust. These European countries, I doubt it.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thanks.